Welcome to The Deep Dive, the show where we cut through the noise, stack up the sources, and extract the essential nuggets of knowledge to get you truly well-informed. Today, we're plunging into a conflict that has tragically escalated in Southeast Asia. It's causing severe civilian casualties and mass displacement. We're talking about the long-standing border dispute between Cambodia and Thailand. Just in these last few days of July 2025, relations have really deteriorated dramatically. We're seeing the most severe confrontations in, well, over a decade. Our mission today is to unpack this incredibly complex situation for you. We're going to dig into its deep historical roots, try to pinpoint the specific triggers behind this current, really explosive crisis, and we have to confront the tragic human and economic toll it's taking. We'll also look at the intricate geopolitical forces at play, how regional and global powers are navigating this volatile situation.
Absolutely. And to give you the clearest, most comprehensive picture, we've pulled together a pretty diverse stack of sources for this deep dive. This includes crucial historical documents, international court rulings, things that have defined the very foundation of the dispute for decades now. We're also drawing from the most current news reports, expert analyses detailing the real-time events and their, frankly, far-reaching implications. Our goal, as always, is to distill the most important insights so you can understand not just what is happening, but why it matters and, what the potential ripple effects could be down the line.
Okay, let's unpack this conflict then. Certainly didn't just appear out of nowhere, did it? To truly understand the volatile present, we really need to dig into the history. Where these colonial lines etched decades ago are still dictating today's flashpoints. We have to go back, way back actually, late 19th, early 20th centuries, to the very origins of their shared border.
Yeah, and what's truly striking here is how decisions made during that colonial era, they continue to shape and frankly ignite present-day disputes. The fundamental issue is this long-standing disagreement over non-demarcated areas along their shared 800-kilometer border. That's about 500 miles. And a central, intensely debated piece of this puzzle is the 1907 Annex I map. This isn't just a map, it's kind of the map. It's the single most contentious piece of paper in this whole century-long argument, really. Every line, every symbol debated for generations.
And it's important to understand how this map even came about. It originated during French colonial rule in Cambodia, right? Following the 1904 Franco-Siamese Treaty. That treaty, its intention was for the border in the Dungrek mountain range, which is a natural frontier, sort of a geostrategic spine between them to follow the natural watershed line. But the French-drawn Annex I map from 1907 showed the iconic Preah Vihear Temple on Cambodia's side. So right from the get-go, you have this potential mismatch, treaty intent versus the map's picture.
Exactly, and this discrepancy, it just brewed for decades because of these conflicting interpretations. It's fascinating, actually. While Siamese or Thai officials initially distributed this map, apparently without public objection back in 1907, and there are even records of Prince Damrong, who is a former Siamese Minister of Interior, visiting Preah Vihear in 1930 without, objecting to the French presence there at the time. But later, Thailand significantly disputed its accuracy, its vagueness even. Their argument was that the map line violated that original 1904 treaty's watershed principle. Cambodia, though, on the other hand, has consistently used this map as a key, foundational reference for its claims. They see it as the definitive demarcation.
Which brings us right to the Preah Vihear Temple itself. This 11th century Hindu temple, perched up on a cliff, it's not just some ancient ruin. It's a living symbol of national pride. Its stones kind of echo with centuries of claims and counterclaims. It's become a battleground, not just for armies, but really for identity itself, its location, its cultural significance. It's made it the absolute epicenter of this dispute. So in 1962, the International Court of Justice, the ICJ, finally ruled on it. They said the temple was under Cambodian sovereignty, obligating Thailand to withdraw personnel from the temple and its immediate vicinity on Cambodian territory.
Right. But, and this is a huge but, that ruling left a crucial and pretty problematic ambiguity. It didn't precisely define vicinity. This created a sort of legal gray area that, both sides would go on to exploit. Thailand, for its part, adopted this non-public resolution in July 1962, outlining their own interpretation of the ICJ verdict. Very interesting move. They then drew a revised borderline based on that interpretation and significantly built a barbed wire fence along it, physically separating parts of the temple complex. Cambodia immediately shot back, asserting this demarcation was in complete disagreement with the ICJ decision. Cambodia believed the ruling confirmed the Annex I map line as the frontier over the entire promontory.
And the dispute just kept going, didn't it?
It eventually prompted another ICJ intervention decades later, even after a 2013 ICJ interpretation reaffirmed Cambodia's sovereignty over the whole Preah Vihear promontory, bounded by that annexed IMAP line to the north. Crucially, it left the status of Phnom Trap, another nearby hill, and the precise extent of the line, subject to further bilateral negotiation. So even when they sought clarity, some key questions remained open, almost inviting future arguments, you could say.
It really does raise an important question for international law, doesn't it? How do international rulings apply? How do they achieve lasting resolution when one party, like Thailand in this instance, consistently rejects the ICJ's jurisdiction over the boundary lines themselves? They prefer bilateral negotiations. So when a state consistently dismisses international arbitration on such a fundamental issue, it creates this unique kind of legal limbo. It's a perpetually open question that can easily be, well, weaponized politically. And this isn't just about Thailand and Cambodia. It kind of tests the very fabric of global governance, the effectiveness of international legal frameworks. And it's not just Preah Vihear that's a flashpoint either. There's also Prasat Tamuanthom. That's another ancient Hindu temple complex, also claimed by both nations. Thailand registered it as a Thai heritage site way back in 1935. They claim it's been under Thai authority for decades. All signs, entrances are in Thai. Cambodia, of course, disputes this using its own treaty maps, arguing the temple falls within its historical boundaries. So multiple points of contention.
Okay, so we have these deep historical roots, especially around these ancient temples. They clearly symbolize national heritage, sovereignty for both sides. It's like a wound that never properly healed. But what truly lit the fuse for this most recent and really severe escalation in July 2025? What pushed these simmering tensions over the edge into a full-blown crisis?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, what we're seeing today isn't really a new fight. It's more like the violent reopening of wounds that never healed, right? Still bleeding from maps drawn over a century ago. The situation, it's been simmering for months with multiple triggering incidents leading up to the eruption of these full-scale clashes on July 24th, 2025. There was definitely a buildup, almost like a series of increasingly loud warning shots, if you think about it. Back on February 13th, 2025, Thai soldiers prevented Cambodian chorus from singing their national anthem at a disputed site. Seems small, maybe, but a deeply symbolic act. Felt like disrespect. Then in May 2025, a Cambodian soldier was killed in a border skirmish. That immediately prompted a diplomatic crisis, rapid military reinforcement by both sides. Things got tense fast. Feeling that pressure, Cambodia then submitted another request to the ICJ on June 15th. They framed it as seeking clarity, not confrontation, trying the legal route again. But tensions kept mounting. By June 24th, the Thai army officially announced the closure of all border crossings in 7 provinces. That effectively banned most travel and trade, a major step.
And here's where it gets really interesting and intensely personal. It shows just how intertwined domestic politics and foreign policy can be. There's been significant political drama in Thailand that seems to have directly contributed to this escalation. On July 1st, 2025, the Thai Prime Minister, Paetongtarn Shinawatra, was suspended from office, pending an ethics investigation. And this stunning development came after a leaked phone call she had with the former Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen.
Indeed. And the allegations that surfaced were pretty explosive, that she used deeply familial language calling him uncle, which is significant in that context. And even more controversially, allegedly spoke disparagingly of her own military's actions in the border dispute. Now, this wasn't just a casual slip-up. In Thai political discourse, that kind of familial language from a leader to a foreign counterpart, especially one seen as an adversary, can be seen as profoundly disrespectful to national sovereignty. It sort of implies a lack of formal boundaries, almost like a throwback to a different era, maybe even subservience. And it ignited a firestorm of public outrage among critics in Thailand. It sparked widespread protests, significantly weakened her ruling coalition. Some Thai commentators even went so far as to label it high treason. Now, she apologized, framing it as a negotiating tactic to de-escalate, but the damage was clearly done. It really shows how leaders under internal pressure might feel incentivized to take hardline stances externally, maybe to unify people against a perceived external threat. And Hun Sen, who is now Cambodia's Senate president, still a former PM, he's clearly a key influential figure here. Thailand's acting prime minister even publicly called him untrustworthy and accused him of political manipulation around July 7th. So very pointed language.
Then you have the landmine controversy. This is a truly dangerous and tragic development that raised the stakes even higher. On July 16th, and then again on the 23rd, 2025, Thai soldiers were injured by landmines in these disputed border areas. One soldier reportedly lost a leg. Thailand immediately accused Cambodia of planting new mines within Thai territory. They claimed it violated the Ottawa Treaty, the Mine Ban Treaty,
which prohibits using, stockpiling, producing, transferring anti-personnel mines.
Cambodia, however, vehemently denied this. Their explanation was that Thai troops had actually entered legacy minefields, old ones, by deviating from coordinated patrol routes. It's really important to note here that both countries have ratified the 1997 Mine Ban Treaty, so the accusation of planting new mines is extremely serious. This whole incident just highlights the dangerous legacy from past conflicts. Cambodia, as many listeners will know, is one of the most mine-contaminated countries on the planet. So the accusations here, they weren't just rhetorical, they directly contributed to the current hostilities, that rapid erosion of trust between the two sides.
In all these escalating tensions, the historical grievances, the political drama, these dangerous accusations, they all seem to culminate in the full-scale clash on July 24, 2025. As often happens in conflict, right, both sides blame each other for starting it. They offer conflicting narratives of who fired the first shot. Thailand alleges Cambodian soldiers opened fire first, hitting a military position near Tam Temple. Cambodia, conversely, alleges that Thailand began provocative actions early that morning, setting up barbed wire, deploying a drone, and then fired first, targeting Tam Temple. The timelines they give are even different: 6:30 a.m. Cambodian narrative versus 8:20 a.m. Thai narrative.
And what followed was just a rapid, devastating escalation across multiple fronts. Full-scale clashes erupted across several provinces: heavy gunfire, shelling, rocket fire. Thailand conducted airstrikes using its more advanced F-16 fighter jets and drones. They claimed to destroy Cambodian military support units. Cambodian forces, in turn, were accused of using heavy artillery on a Thai military base and, worryingly, a hospital. It's probably worth noting that Thailand's military is generally considered significantly better equipped, more technologically advanced than Cambodia's. Cambodia also alleged that Thailand used internationally prohibited cluster munitions. The Royal Thai Army later clarified, saying they were used when necessary to target military objectives and when adhering to the legal principle of proportionality. It's also worth noting that neither country is actually a party to the Convention on Cluster Munitions, though Human Rights Watch considers any use of those kinds of weapons in populated areas indiscriminate just because of their wide area effect.
The immediate human toll from this conflict is just devastating. It paints a really grim picture. But the impact, it extends far beyond the direct fighting, doesn't it? It reaches right into the fabric of daily life, into the economic stability of both nations.
Yeah, and it raises that important question. What are the broader consequences when these long-standing historical disputes reignite and military action replaces dialogue? On the humanitarian front, the casualties are grim, heartbreaking. By July 25, 2025, reports indicated at least 11 to 14 Thai civilians and one Thai soldier killed, plus 15 soldiers and maybe 31 or 32 civilians injured in Thailand. In Cambodia, at least one person was reported killed and 5 injured. Overall, the conflict led to at least 20 fatalities, and that includes the deeply tragic deaths of children aged 8 and 15 killed in Thailand. I mean, you just try to imagine the terror, the chaos for families caught in that crossfire.
And the displacement numbers are just staggering. They paint this picture of widespread human suffering. Over 130,000 people evacuated from conflict areas in Thailand alone, forced to leave their homes, and tens of thousands from Cambodia as well, seeking refuge wherever they can find it. Civilian infrastructure has also taken a severe hit. Thai authorities reported Cambodian rocket and artillery attacks hitting a hospital, a supermarket, residential houses. A hospital in Thailand's Surin province, Phnom Dong Rak, was specifically hit. For safety, at least 852 schools and 7 hospitals were closed in Thailand. That's a huge disruption. Cambodia, in turn, alleged that Thai airstrikes damaged the Preah Vihear Temple itself, a UNESCO World Heritage site, and a Buddhist pagoda. That would be a severe blow to cultural heritage if confirmed.
The economic impact is equally severe. It's rapidly rippling through both national economies. This conflict has caused a major disruption to what is normally a $1.2 billion annual trade corridor, a vital artery of commerce between them. With all 7 border crossings closed since July 24th, you've immediately got rerouted supply chains for Thai logistics firms. They're facing a reported 30% spike in operational costs. And that isn't just a number, right? That means higher prices for consumers eventually, delays in goods, significant stress on businesses. Cambodia has also taken economic countermeasures, banning Thai films, cutting internet links, suspending imports of various goods from Thailand, further choking that trade.
And Cambodia's tourism sector, which is substantial, about 9% of its GDP, is particularly vulnerable to this kind of instability. There's already been a reported 70% drop in international tourist arrivals in July 2025 compared to the previous year. Significant cancellations in popular places like Siem Reap, home of Angkor Wat, and Phuket. For a country so reliant on tourism, I mean, that's a devastating blow. And when you think about foreign direct investment, FDI, and labor, FDI is at immediate risk.
Thai businesses operating in Cambodia are implementing urgent contingency plans. Plus, you've got over 1 million Cambodians who work in Thailand. Thousands are now returning daily, which puts a huge strain on Cambodia's already stretched labor market and public services.
The financial instability is showing up in the markets too, signaling profound investor unease. Cambodia's stock market dropped a dramatic 12%, and the Thai baht depreciated 0.3% against the US dollar almost immediately after the full-scale clashes erupted. It just demonstrates how quickly a seemingly localized conflict can send these palpable ripples through regional economies, eroding confidence and trust and stability.
It's so clear this conflict is certainly more than just a localized border dispute. It has these significant geopolitical implications. It's testing the influence of major powers, regional bodies, and it reflects these broader currents of nationalism and, well, international engagement or lack thereof sometimes.
Yeah, what's particularly crucial here, I think, is how the conflict tests the influence of those major powers and regional bodies, and how it's profoundly fueled by internal dynamics. The rising national sentiments in both nations, they're not new, but they've been sharply exacerbated by the recent political turmoil in Thailand, particularly the prime minister's suspension. It clearly shows how internal political pressures can incentivize hardline stances from leadership. It makes compromise incredibly difficult because any perceived concession back home is seen as weakness.
And we've seen ASEAN's mediation efforts come into play. ASEAN being the regional body you'd expect to step in. Malaysia, as the current chair of ASEAN, is trying to mediate. They presented a ceasefire proposal that Cambodia reportedly accepted, however, Thailand. Well, they initially agreed in principle, then quickly changed their position. They preferred direct bilateral talks, effectively sidestepping ASEAN's efforts. It really highlights ASEAN's limited tools for intervention in these kinds of bilateral disputes. Despite their best intentions and their core principle of non-interference, it's a real challenge to their goal of regional stability.
And this situation escalated quickly to the highest levels of international diplomacy, the UN Security Council. The Security Council held an urgent private meeting on July 25, 2025, at Cambodia's request. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged maximum restraint and dialogue. That call was echoed by other major international players: China, the UK, the US, the EU. Human Rights Watch also weighed in, urging both sides to protect civilians and adhere strictly to international humanitarian law, particularly regarding the use of explosive weapons in populated areas and that mine ban treaty.
This conflict is also being watched pretty closely as a critical test for U.S. and China influence in Southeast Asia. It's a region that's increasingly a chessboard for global powers, isn't it? The U.S. views Thailand as a key strategic partner, long history of military ties there. But some experts suggest its influence might have waned recently, maybe due to shifting priorities elsewhere. China, on the other hand, with its huge Belt and Road Initiative, views Cambodia as a strategic foothold. They've invested heavily in the region, especially infrastructure. China has publicly called for de-escalation and aims to remain neutral, which kind of complicates any external role they might play. There's a palpable risk, though, that if the situation gets worse, the U.S. and China might deepen support for their respective partners. That could potentially draw other powers into the region's instability, really exacerbating what began as a localized border dispute. So what does this all mean for you, our listener? We've explored how these centuries-old border lines, ancient temples loaded with symbolism, and the messy details of modern political tensions has all intertwined. It's led to a tragic humanitarian crisis, significant economic disruption, this complex web of historical grievances, intense nationalist passions, competing territorial claims, combined with the domestic political turmoil in Thailand. It just makes for a truly precarious and volatile situation. It's a vivid reminder, really, of how historical wounds, if they're left unaddressed, can just bleed right into the present with devastating consequences.
Absolutely. And this discussion really underscores that even seemingly localized conflicts have these profound global echoes. They test the resilience of regional organizations like ASEAN and the influence of major powers on the international stage. The paramount challenge now lies in moving beyond the mutual accusations, finding some common ground for genuine dialogue, for negotiation. Prioritizing civilian protection and finding a lasting, equitable solution has to be key, especially when the very legal mechanisms for resolution are themselves contested.
So consider this. In a world where historical grievances can so easily reignite into conflict, what responsibility do international bodies and major powers actually have to enforce international law and mediate effectively? Especially when one party consistently rejects that jurisdiction, essentially creating a loophole for perpetual disagreement.
And perhaps more personally for you listening, what can you do to understand the multiple, often conflicting perspectives at play, especially when information itself is weaponized as part of a narrative war. How do you sift through the claims and counterclaims to form a truly informed view? These are not simple questions, and they definitely invite some deep, critical reflection long after the headlines fade.